This sucks. Nintendo consoles have always had an awesome level of charm and soul poured into every single system. Even their first consoles, whilst basic, had that weird Nintendo charm. I think that the charm is a strange sense of playfulness. It's a special thing to be able to make setting up Wi-Fi on my 3DS exciting. Unfortunately, the Nintendo Switch does not have this level of charm. The menus are boring and do not excite me like they should. After nearly 8 years, we could at the very least have themes, and no, changing from black and white does not count. Today, I want to look back at all of the previous home screens of Nintendo consoles and see all of the charm that they were full of. The GameCube was the first time that Nintendo created a home screen, and I actually love it. We all know the classic GameCube startup, but if you boot the thing up without a game in the system, you get this cool little menu with a bunch of things to do for a minute or so. I love all of the little noises and how dynamic it is. It's a basic start, but a great one. You can mess around with a couple basic options, check the calendar for some reason, access your memory card, and of course, play the game when you insert a disc into it. Overall, this is a 7 out of 10. Pretty basic, but I like it. Home screens stuck, and for Nintendo's next console, it was actually a handheld, the DS. We got this. In my opinion, this is a downgrade from the GameCube. Obviously, it's a far less powerful console, so we can't judge it too critically. However, having to turn the console on and off whenever changing the settings gets old quickly. But PictoChat is kind of cool. There are a couple more settings which will do something. You can personalize things like your nickname or the color of the interface, all pretty basic stuff. This one's a 5 out of 10. I think that it does all it needs to do, but there's not much flair to it. However, there was another model of DS that had a full-fledged home menu with apps and stuff. This being the DSi. I personally had a DSi growing up, so I have a lot of nostalgia for this menu. All of your apps are displayed on the bottom screen, and on the top screen it would display a random photo that you've taken on the built-in camera, which is pretty cool. The built-in apps have a lot of merit too. Flipnotes, the sound app, the DSi shop, and we still have things like PictoChat. They also added some simple background music to the home screen, and this just adds so much. On top of all of this new stuff that they threw at us, we also have all of the previous settings from the older DS model, with all the personalization and whatnot. This one's an 8 out of 10. There is not much bad to be said about it. Next, we have potentially the most well-regarded Nintendo console of all time, the Wii. This console pretty much nails it in my opinion. The interface is based off of TV channels, which is such a cool idea. It's just put together so nicely. I love the way it's all organized, and on top of this we get cool previews of each channel before opening them, and some of these are extremely nostalgic nowadays. Despite being simple, this console still spills charm out of every crevice possible. One of my favourite things was the little letters that you would get sent after playing something. I don't know why, but seeing this pop up and telling me how much time I was on a game or if I got a certain achievement, it was just cool. We also get things like the Mii Maker, which doesn't even need an introduction, the Weather Channel, because why not at this point, news, photos, and, politics. Overall, this one gets a 9 out of 10. It's so nostalgic and just brilliant, and also it's a meme template now, I guess. I think that the 3DS is my favourite interface from this entire list, of all time even. I think that everything here is done to perfection. All of the applications on the bottom screen, which are customizable with how you want them laid out or how big they should be, and on the top screen, every app shows a little burst of character and life, just like how the Wii had the little title previews. The 3DS brings this back in a sense and expands upon them. Some of them are even interactive using the system's microphone. We get very similar apps to the DSi, but now we get new things as well, like face raiders and AR cards, which are pretty awesome. And we haven't even got into the themes yet. These are so cool. Not all of them were free, but they would let you completely customize your home screen further, and it changes things like the music, the sound effects, even the folders. And if you mod your 3DS, you get stuff like this. Easy 10 out of 10. Alright, moving on to the Wii U. This is fine. Back in the day, you'd be able to see a bunch of different games and apps that people had been using, and then what they'd posted about it on Miiverse. The whole thing was kind of basic, but still had the background music at least. It was incredibly reminiscent of the Wii interface, just without the cool TV theming and a weird plaza thing that they tacked onto it. We don't really get anything noteworthy here. You can do video calls with people, which is cool, I guess. I've done this once, and the quality was hilariously bad. We also get Miiverse. We don't talk about Miiverse. Other than that, we get nothing. There's so much less than what was offered here on the Wii. What if I want to know the weather? Also, this is kind of unrelated, but I don't like how a bunch of the interfaces are dependent on the gamepad. Things like the Mii Maker and the settings all force you to use it, and sometimes I don't wanna. 4 out of 10, it does the job. And finally, we move on to the Nintendo Switch. There's hardly anything to say here. They really went basic and stuck with it for the Switch. There's just so little charm in any of this. It just feels like they got some randomly coloured geometry and slapped it together and called it a day. The most interesting thing we can do here is click buttons when unlocking it for some different sounds. There's hardly any built-in apps here, and what's offered can't even really be considered as an app. We got the News app, but before you celebrate, it's not like the one on the Wii. It's basically just used to advertise their new games, and the gallery where you can see all of your photos and videos. But the rest of the eShop, the controller settings, oh, and the Nintendo Switch Online thing, but that is just so irrelevant. I don't know how to explain it, but it just doesn't feel like Nintendo. 2 out of 10, and that's generous. Well, that's been a quick and brief tour through Nintendo's home menus. In summary, Nintendo needs to bring back the charm for the next console. It's one of the only things that brings the Switch down. I know that if they bring back that classic Nintendo flair, then whatever comes next will be the perfect console.